Hello guys, in this particular tutorial we will talk about another kind of loop which is called as for each. And what is the purpose of the loop? We'll go through it, but before, let's say I have a list of integers and I wanted to display the elements of the list. One way is just saying the list name and it will display. But let's say I want to display individual elements in one line. Means let's say I have a list of 10, 20, 40, 60, etc. and I want to display each of the elements using the for loop, something like this. Okay, not in the one shot, but in a different, like first element, then the second element, then the third element, and the fourth element. So now we will see how we can iterate through a list, or a list of integer, or a list of string. Let's go ahead and take an example. So to do that, let's say I have a list of integers. So I'm going to go ahead and create a list here of integer, and the name of my list is, let's say, my list is equals to new of list, and it is of integer type. It is only going to have integer elements in it, and I can also always initialize it right here by saying 10, 100,000 and 10,000. Let's say this is my list contains. Now if I wanted to go ahead and go through each element of the list, I can do it using the for loop. So I can say for loop, I'll create a variable integer j is equals to, let's say it started with 0, because as you know, the indexing of the list always starts with 0. So we initialized a variable j with 0. J is as long as the size is there. So what is the size? My list dot size is the method to call the get the size. So how many elements are there? 4. So j is equals to 0, j less than equals to my list dot size minus 1. Why I did minus 1, I'll tell you. J plus plus. And then here I can go ahead and say system dot of debug, and element if I want to display my list, and I can go ahead and display of index 0. So I have created a list, okay, and I have added these particular elements in that list: 10, 100, 100,000 and 10,000. Okay, so these are the elements that I have added. So whenever you add an element to a list, they go to a particular index. It starts with 0 and then go from 0, 1, 2 and 3. Now if I say what is the size of my list, the size is equals to 4. So the size method will return the value 4 here. So why I did minus 1? See, I want to display each and every element. So to display each and every element, it should be my list of 0 will display 10, my list index of 1 will display 100, 2 will display 1000, and my list of index 3 will display 10,000. So there it will only go up till 3 because the size is 4, so the index will be always less than the size, 1 less than the size, because the indexing starts with 0. So that's why we did minus 1 here, because we want the value from 0 to 3. The indexes are from 0 to 3. And then I'm displaying my list of j. Either you can go ahead and use my list of j, or you can also have done something like this. If you remember, you could have said system.debug my list dot of get. You could have also used the get method, and the index you could have passed. So whichever is the right way, you can do it. Let's say we will display both the things. We'll use by this method also and by using the get method also. So now what I'm going to do is, what will be the value here? So let's start. So we have created a list here of 10, 100,000 and 10,000. Now the loop says j is equals to 0. So my loop starts with the value of j is equals to 0. Now, j less than equals to my list dot size. Now, what is the size of my list? The size of the list is 4. 4 minus 1 is 3. Is j less than equals to 3? Now, j is 0. 0 is less than 3? Yes. So then what will happen is, it will come inside the loop and it will execute these two statements. There are two statements inside the loop. So it will go ahead and execute both the statements. So it will say, what is my list of 0? My list of 0 is 10. So it will go ahead and display number 10 here. Similarly, my list of get of 0, this is another way. So it will also display number 10. So number 10 will get displayed twice. Then what will happen is, it will go ahead and go to this increment part, j plus plus. So now the new value of j became 1. 0 plus 1 is 1. So the new value of j is 1. Now the condition says, is 1 less than equals to 3? Yes, 1 is less than 3. So if the condition meets, it will come inside the loop and it will execute these true statements again. System.debug my list of 1 because the j is 1 now. So what is at one location? It is 100. So it is going to go ahead and display 100. Now the second statement also says, but it used the get method, get at 1. So what is it index 1? 100. So it will go ahead and display 100 again. Now it will go through this increment portion. J is equals to j plus 1. So now what is the new value of j? The new value of j is 2. So what is the condition? Is 2 less than equals to 3? Yes, 2 is less than equals to 3. If that is the case, it will come inside the loop and it will print the value of my list of 2. What is that index 2? Index 2 has 1000. So it will go ahead and print 1000. Then again we are saying my list dot get of 2. So what is it index 2? 1000. So it is going to go ahead and display 1000 twice. Now next thing is j plus plus. So what is the new value of j? J became 3 now. Is 3 less than or equals to 3? Yes, 3 is equals to 3. So the condition meets again. It will come inside the loop and it will execute those two statements. So what does it say? My list of 3. What is the element at index of 3? It's 10,000. So it is going to go ahead and display 10,000. Now next thing is again my list of get of 3. So what is it index 3? 10,000. So it is going to go ahead and display 10,000 twice. So every number it is displaying is twice because there are two statements inside the for loop. So both of these statements will run for each iteration of the loop. Now the j becomes 4. Okay, j becomes 4 because last time it was 3, now it became 4 by j plus plus. Now the condition is j less than equals to 3 because the size is 4, 4 minus 1 is 3. So what is 4? 4 less than equals to 3. Is this condition meets? No, that's it wrong. So now the loop will exit out and you're going to go ahead and come out of the loop. So this is one way of displaying the elements of a list. Similarly, if you had a string list or if you had a list of string, you could have followed the same approach. So let me go ahead and execute this and see what is the result. So we go ahead and execute. Go to the debug only. You'll see the 10 got displayed twice, 100 twice, 1000 twice, and 10,000. So this is the way. Similarly, let's say I have a list of string. So I have a list here of string, and the name of my list is again my list, and it is a list of strings. So I'm going to go ahead and specify string here. And let me go ahead and initialize it right here. Instead of using the add method again and again, let me go ahead and initialize. I'll say 1, 2, ka, 4. Okay, so these are my elements inside of my list. So this is my list and it has 4 elements. So what is the elements here? There are total number of 4 elements in the list. Let me go ahead and display all the elements of the list step by step. So what will I do? I will go ahead and use the for loop to display it. So once you have created the list, how the elements will get added? So let's say this is my list here. The first element will go at index of 0 will be 1. The second element will go at index of 1. The second and third element will go at index of 2. And the fourth element will go at index of 3. So you start from 0, 1, 2, and 3. So 1, 2, ka, and 4. So these are my 4 elements in my list. So if I say what is the size of my list? The size of my list is 4. The size of my list is 4. And indexing starts from 0, 0 to 3. So if I want to display the value of ka, so what will I show? I'll say my list of 2 will display me ka. My list of 3 will display me 4. So now let's go ahead and use the for loop to display these elements of the list. So I'm going to go ahead and say for my variable, let's say is k is equals to 0 because indexing starts from 0 in the case of list. So I have initialized my k with the value of 0. K less than or equals to what is the size here? The size of my list is my list dot of size method will return me 4. But there is no element at index of 4. There is only element still index of 3. So I'm going to go ahead and say minus 1 and then I'm going to say k plus plus and then I'm going to increment it. So my for loop has 3 parts: initialization, condition, and it has the increment part. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and display all these elements using the system dot of debug statement. And then what I'm going to do here is in the case of, and I'll say my list dot of get and only give me the elements with the index of j. Okay. So let's go ahead and loop through this program. So first time our list has these elements. Let me go ahead and create it. 1, 2, car, and 4. So here my listed size. What is the size of my list? Is 4 minus 1 is 3. So the condition is k is less than equals to 3. This is the condition. K is less than equals to 3. What is the initial value of k? Initial value of k is 0. So first time only this part of the program will run once. The k is 0. Is 0 less than equals to 3? Yes, 0 is less than 3. So then it will come inside the loop since the condition is true, and it will print the value of my list dot of get j. So what is j? J is 0. So what is my list dot of get 0? It will return me 1. So it will go ahead and display 1. Then this part of the program will run k plus plus. Now what is the new value of k? K became 1 now. Now the condition will be checked again. Is 1 less than equals to 3? Yes, 1 is less than equals to 3. So the condition meets again. It will come inside the loop and execute this statement, and it will print my list get of j. What is the value of j? J is 1. So what is the element at index of 1? 2. So it will go ahead and display the number 2 here. Again, this part of the program will run k plus plus. So now what is the new value of k? K became 2 now. Okay, k plus plus because k got incremented by 1. Again, the condition will be checked. So the condition says, is 2 less than equals to 3? Yes, 2 is less than 3. So it will come inside the loop and execute it again. And what will it print? My list of get of j. What is at j? J is 2. So what element is there at index of 2? Car. So it is going to go ahead and print the value car here. Next thing we have here is my listed size. Again, it will go ahead and increment the value of k. So what will be the new value of k? Now the k became 3. Now it will go ahead and check the condition. What is the condition? 3 less than equals to 3. Yes, the condition is still true because 3 is equals to 3. Again, the condition meets. It will go ahead and come inside the loop and execute this statement 4, and it will say my list dot of get of j. What is the j? J is 3. So what is the element at index of 3? 4. So then it will go ahead and display the value 4 here. Again, what will happen is k became 4 now. K plus plus. K became 4. 4 is less than equals to 3? No. The condition does not meet because 4 is greater than 3. So now the for loop will exit out and it will only display these 4 numbers. So this is how through a for loop you can go through the elements of the list. So let me go ahead and execute the program and let's see if the result matches. Okay, so I was trying to display k here. Go ahead and hit the execute. One, two, car, 4. So there's plays 1, then 2, and then ka, and then 4 here. So now the error was, guys, because I was using the variable k, and I said it, I was using j here. So j was never been initialized. That's why it gave me an error. So just since I was using variable k, so this is the value. But don't you think this is a long way of like creating the loop, remembering the size, etc.? So just for that purpose, just to make little things little simple, there's a thing called for each loop. Whenever you have to go through a collection, you go ahead and use a for each loop. Now how you will create a for each loop, it is very similar and exactly same, but they just call it for each, and this is especially used when you're iterating over a collection. So how does this loop work? So let's say I have a list here. Instead of saying all this, let me go ahead and comment this line. Instead of saying creating a for loop, remembering the size method and all that, they have just made this thing simple. You can just say, since it's an integer or since it's a string, so we'll say string j, the name of my list. The list is here, and then just go ahead and display each element. System.debug the value here j. That's it. So I have commented out, so this portion will not run. And this is an example of the for each loop. So what is this doing? So what my list has all these 4 elements. So I'm saying this is a for each loop, string j my list. So what will it happen is this j will go through each and every element of the list until all the elements have been covered. First time j will be pointing to 1, so it will go ahead and display 1 here. What is j? J is 1. Next time it will go ahead and go to the next position, that will be 2. So now the j is pointing to 2 here. So then it will go ahead and come inside. As long as there are elements in the list, it will go through each element and it will display for every element. System.of.j, what is the new value for j? New value is 2. Again, there is elements in the list, so j will be pointing to the third element. So now the next value would be k8. Then j will be pointing to this value. So now the j will have 4 in it. So this is a for each loop, and this loop is used to display the elements in the collection. So we have used just simple. You're not saying for each. It's just called for each, but you only use 4 keyword. 4. Then if it's the list is of string type, so you will say each element is of type string. So you have string j. So you've created a variable and you have called it as string, and my list, this is the name of my list, and then just this system.debug j. So every time j will be pointing to these elements as you proceed. As long as there are elements in the loop, it will go ahead and go through each element and display the value. If you had a list of, let's say you had a list of integer, so then what will happen? If you had a list of integer, let me go ahead and first run the program and show you the output. So let's go ahead and execute this. So now you can see it is 1, 2, 4. Next thing is, let's say you had a list. Same thing, instead of using all this, you are using a simple for each loop. And this loop comes very handy when you have to iterate over the elements of a collection. A collection can be a list or it can be set anything. So now let's say I have a list of integer here, and then instead of this, let's say I have 10, 90, 78, 900. Let's say this is my elements in the list. So now instead of, because each element in the list is of integer type, so I'm going to go ahead and say integer now, because initially it was string because the list was of string type, all the elements were of string. Since now I'm using a list of integers, so every element in the list is integer type. So my for each loop will be integer of j, my list. What are the elements in my list? All these are the 4 elements. And what will it do? It will go through each and every element of that list and it will display the value. So this is the another example of using the for each loop. So if you go ahead and execute, it will go ahead and do the same thing, 100, 78, so forth. So whatever the values were there, it's going to go ahead and display. So 10, 90, 78, and 900. So these were the elements in my list, and that's how this for each loop goes through each element of the list and display the value.